two men wanted to be Shen Yu's partner. One came prepared with thoughtful gestures, while the other barely seemed to need to try. And somehow, Shen Yu's choice between them revealed something about her that I don't think the show intended us to notice. Because when you put Guo Junchen and He Yu side by side, the interesting question isn't who had better chemistry with Shen Yu. It's why Shen Yu seemed to become a completely different version of herself around each of them. And once you notice that difference, you can't really unsee it. Honestly, you wouldn't want to miss this tea, because this one goes back to one of Shen Yu's most interesting variety show dynamics. Welcome back to Asian Star Spotlight. Here, we don't just talk about Shen Yu's dramas, pairings possibilities, and co-stars. We explore the stories, the facts, and the bigger picture behind her journey. If that sounds like your kind of content, subscribe and join us right now. So, when Shen Yu appeared on Memories Beyond the Horizon variety show, the goal wasn't simply to put celebrities together and see what happened. The contestants were being challenged to find acting partners, people they could trust and build believable chemistry with. And eventually, the partner selection process began. That's when the situation became interesting. Because Guo Junchen chose Shen Yu, and then He Yu chose Shen Yu too. Suddenly, two actors were interested in working with the same person. And what makes this even more interesting is that neither man was approaching Shen Yu from exactly the same place. Guo Junchen had already noticed Shen Yu before. He had encountered her during auditions and had formed an impression of her. He Yu, on the other hand, already had actual experience working alongside her. The two had previously collaborated during the program. So for He Yu, choosing Shen Yu wasn't simply, I wonder what working with her would be like, because he already knew. And that difference would become important, because the two men didn't compete for Shen Yu in the same way. Guo Junchen actually came prepared, and his approach was thoughtful. He prepared milk tea, wrote Shen Yu a note, and when they had an opportunity to spend time together during a pottery activity, he helped her with her apron. None of these things, individually, are extraordinary, but put them together and you start to see the approach. Guo wasn't simply waiting for chemistry to happen. He was creating opportunities for it to happen. He was making the interaction comfortable, giving them something to do together, finding small ways to make Shen Yu feel taken care of. And for a while, it worked. Shen Yu was there with him. They were spending time together, laughing, and creating their own little rhythm away from the rest of the group. If this were a scripted drama, this would probably be the part where the audience starts thinking, oh, okay, maybe we know where this is going. Except, we didn't, because He Yu was still in the picture. Just then, He Yu entered the story, and this is where I think the dynamic becomes much more interesting. He Yu didn't need to recreate everything Guo Junchen had done. He didn't need a carefully prepared setup, because he already had something Guo didn't have in exactly the same way. Familiarity. He and Shen Yu had already worked together. They had already experienced the awkwardness of learning how to perform beside each other. They already knew how the other person reacted. And when Shen Yu and Guo Junchen were spending time together, He Yu didn't simply disappear from the situation. He followed the opportunity. Suddenly, the carefully planned pottery moment wasn't the whole story anymore. There was another person entering the dynamic. And that changed the energy. Because now we had two completely different approaches sitting next to each other. Guo Junchen was making an effort to build a connection, while He Yu seemed to be relying on a connection that already existed. And Shen Yu was standing right between those two dynamics. Then came the horse riding moment, which made the contrast become even clearer during this activity. It made Shen Yu and He Yu spend time together again. They joked around, interacted with the horse, appeared comfortable, and Shen Yu seemed relaxed enough to simply be herself. Now, this is where I want to make something very clear. I'm not going to tell you this was proof of romantic feelings, because the show was about actors building chemistry for performances. And a comfortable interaction between two people doesn't automatically mean there was a secret relationship hiding underneath it, that there was something we could observe. Shen Yu seemed to have a very easy rhythm with He Yu, and that matters. Because chemistry isn't always about dramatic eye contact or romantic tension. Sometimes the strongest chemistry is much quieter. It's when two people don't seem to be working very hard to create an interaction. They simply respond to each other. And that's what made He Yu's dynamic with Shen Yu really different. But then the biggest question became, what does Shen Yu actually want? This is the part I think is easy to miss. Everyone could talk about what Guo Junchen did. And everyone could talk about what He Yu did. But eventually, Shen Yu had to make the choice. And that is where the story stops being about the two men. Because Shen Yu ultimately chose He Yu as her partner, and suddenly, everything that happened before that decision became more interesting. The milk tea, the note, the pottery, the horse riding, the conversations and the familiarity. They weren't just random variety show moments anymore. They were clues, because if Shen Yu had simply chosen the person who had made the biggest effort, Guo Junchen's approach would have won. But she didn't. She chose the person whose dynamic with her seemed to feel more natural. And that tells us something. Not necessarily about romance, but potentially about comfort. He Yu definitely understood something important, which is why one of the details surrounding their interaction was He Yu's explanation of why he felt comfortable with Shen Yu. The idea was simple. Even when the two weren't talking, the silence didn't necessarily feel awkward. And that might sound like a very small thing. But think about how rare that actually is. When you're meeting someone for the first time, silence can feel uncomfortable. You start wondering, should I say something? Are they bored? Or what are they even thinking? But when you're genuinely comfortable with another person, silence doesn't necessarily need to be filled. You can just sit there, and nothing feels wrong. For actors, that kind of comfort can be especially useful, because acting isn't just about delivering lines. It's reacting, listening, timing, body language, knowing when to move, knowing when not to move. And if you don't feel comfortable around the person opposite you, the audience can sometimes sense that. So perhaps what Shen Yu was responding to wasn't some grand romantic gesture. Perhaps she was responding to the feeling that working with He Yu didn't require her to force anything. And that changes the way we look at Guo Junchen, because I don't think Guo Junchen's approach failed. That's actually the wrong way to look at it. He gave us something equally valuable. He showed us another side of Shen Yu. Around him, we saw the playful, comfortable version of her. The Shen Yu who can laugh at something ridiculous. The Shen Yu who doesn't seem afraid to be a little awkward. The Shen Yu who can enjoy someone's effort without needing to turn it into something deeper. And that tells us something too. Guo and He Yu weren't only two men competing for one woman. They were two different environments for Shen Yu, and Shen Yu reacted differently to each environment. That's why comparing them becomes interesting. Not because one man was the winner, but because each one revealed something different about the same woman. And this is why Shen Yu is so interesting to watch. We often talk about Shen Yu through the people around her. Shen Yu and this actor. Shen Yu and that actor. Shen Yu's chemistry with this person. Shen Yu's friendship with another. That sometimes we're looking at the wrong person. Because the male actor isn't always the story. Shen Yu is the main story. The person standing beside her simply gives us another way to observe her. One person makes her more playful. Another makes her more serious. Someone else makes her talk more. Another makes her become quieter, and another might bring out her competitive side. That's not Shen Yu becoming fake. It's actually the opposite. It's what happens when different people make different parts of someone's personality easier to see. And that is exactly why I think the Guo Junchen and He Yu story is worth revisiting. There were two approaches but ultimately one choice. Guo Junchen came prepared. He made an effort, created opportunities, and tried to make Shen Yu comfortable, while He Yu had something different: history, familiarity, and a natural rhythm that already existed between them. Neither approach was necessarily better. But when Shen Yu had to choose which partnership she wanted to explore, she chose He Yu, and that decision eventually led to them working together on their performance. Now the question wasn't simply whether they could get along. They had to turn that connection into acting. They had to take whatever natural rhythm existed between them and transform it into something an audience could believe. And that is where the whole variety show experiment finally made sense. Because all those little interactions weren't the final product. They were preparation, joking, awkwardness, comfort, conversations, and the moments when neither person knew exactly what to say. All of it gave the actors something to work with. And Shen Yu had chosen the person she wanted to explore that with. And this is where I think the story becomes bigger than He Yu. Because if we stop the story at Shen Yu chose He Yu, we miss the most interesting part. The real takeaway isn't that He Yu won. It's that Shen Yu's choice gives us a glimpse into something she may value when working with another actor. Comfort before performance. A partner who doesn't make every interaction feel manufactured. Someone she can react to naturally. Someone who gives her room to be herself. And that's especially interesting when you consider Shen Yu's acting style. A lot of her appeal comes from the feeling that her reactions are spontaneous. Her characters don't always look like they're carefully calculating their next move. They react, laugh, get embarrassed, become frustrated, tease, and soften. And when the actor opposite her gives her enough space to react naturally, that quality becomes even more noticeable. Maybe that's why some of her partnerships feel so effortless. It's not necessarily because the other person is doing something extraordinary. Sometimes they're simply giving Shen Yu enough room to be Shen Yu. And that's why I wouldn't call this a story about two men wanting the same woman. It's a story about two completely different dynamics revealing two different sides of Shen Yu. Guo Junchen showed us one, while He Yu showed us another. And Shen Yu's decision gave us the opportunity to see which dynamic she wanted to take further as an actress. And honestly, that is very fascinating. And sometimes what we see is already interesting enough. So now I'm curious about you, Mooncakes. When you look at Shen Yu with Guo Junchen and then look at her with He Yu, which version of Shen Yu do you notice? Does Guo bring out a softer, more playful side of her? Does He Yu bring out a more open and conversational side? Or do you think Shen Yu simply has that rare ability to make completely different people feel comfortable around her? Tell me what you noticed in the comments. I will be waiting to see your interesting perspectives. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, subscribe to Asian Star Spotlight, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next Shen Yu story. And if you'd like to support the channel more directly, you can become a member by tapping the join button next to subscribe. Your support helps me continue creating a positive home for Shen Yu fans around the world. And I truly appreciate every single one of you. And remember, we're not here just to follow who Shen Yu stands beside. We're here to discover what those people reveal about her. Until next time, Star Mooncakes. Take care, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.